I'm Marissa Almeida and I come from CIIMAR in Portugal, from the north of Portugal. And I'm a researcher working on the coastal and marine environment. And we will work in Estuary area, in Lima River Estuary, which is a little bit north from Porto, looking at this great salt marsh that it has to contribute for the cleaning of the water, to retain the pollutants. So this is a Estuary area with a lot of salt marshes. Salt marshes are vegetated area within the Estuary area where you have a lot of plants. These are very particular plants because this site is affected by the tides. So you have the input from the river because this is at the end of the river. You have the input, so fresh water, and then you have the high tide from the sea because it's directly connected with the sea. So you have inputs from salt water. So you have this dynamic in this system where the salinity is always floating, and you also have dry parts of the day, so it's completely dry, then it's completely flooded. And these plants are very special because they need to cope with this salinity variability and with this dry, wet during the day that they are subjected. And this creates a great environment because once you have a river flowing, when it reaches the Estuary area, the hydrologic will lower because you will start facing the sea. Then this will make sediments to deposit, and that it will lower even more the hydrology and the flow of the water. And then this will permit that plants grow up on that, and then they start to create this net with their roots, and so more sediments are trapped. And so these places function like a filter. So they are great hotspots because there's a lot of nutrients in flow and a lot of nutrients coming from both sides. So they are very good spots for a lot of animals, for birds, for fish. A lot of fish go there and put their larvae there. A lot of organisms are living there, but because of these thin sediments that they trapped, they also are filters of pollutants. So pollutants that come through the water will be retained. And then what we are studying and what we want to show with this demo site is that in that rhizosphere, so you have the plants, you have the roots, you have the sediment, you have a huge microbial community that will degrade the pollutants, they will serve as a carbon source, so basically they will eat the pollutants. And then if you have metals, of course they will not be degraded, they will pass on to the plants. But this will make a filter for if we have too much nutrients, they will be retained in these areas and be used by the plants to live and survive. And all the other pollutants that we have will be retained and degraded. And so what we want to show is that vegetated areas like salt marshes are great filters, and they really contribute to clean the water that we have in this dynamic. And this will of course contribute to prevent pollutants from reaching not only the seashores, coastal areas, the bands of the river, but also the groundwater. Because if you are retaining everything that is flowing, it will not go down and will not contaminate the groundwater or the aquifers. Besides, they also prevent erosion, and they also prevent salt intrusion, because if you have this, it will be like a physical barrier that will prevent from, when you have high tide, that the salty water reach very high in the river. Because if you don't have these areas, the salty water can reach high in the river, and this can create a high input of salt to the agriculture field surrounding it. So if we implement these areas, we will also create these physical barriers that will contribute to reduce salt intrusion and also protect the coast from coastal erosion. So these are great areas also this is nature living. So what we have normally is in the estuarine areas, we have a very high urban pressure and a lot of anthropogenic activities going on, because these are very nice places and you have a lot of cities around this. So this will bring protection for the cities, protection for the people from this erosion and this attack from the high tide. They will also contribute, for instance, for flooding. With these high rain events that we have, it's a lot of water, but if we have these areas, they have the capacity to absorb the areas. So the areas are not impermeabilized and you don't see the flooding in the cities. So all of this promotes a healthy environment of us human being part of the nature and not just using nature. On the other side, these are great areas they are protected areas, and also by having all these animals like the birds that you can see, you can create paths within it, and you can put the people walking around them and feeling near the nature and enjoying it. So our goal is to really show the great that it is that we have the salt marshes and we have these natural areas in the estuary, and we don't impermeabilize them, we don't construct, we don't make buildings on them. I would say it's a great project that will help to protect our waters and will prevent from contaminated groundwater that it's essential for our life, not only for humans, but for the entire planet life. We need fresh water, and we need fresh water clean, and that fresh water needs to be protected. And so we need to protect and we need to prevent pollution. We need to eliminate pollution from all the surface water that we have so that it can infiltrate, and we have healthy groundwater that we can use for everybody.